Good evening. I got my pension today, so a little tired now. My apartment's very hot. I like to reading before I'm getting too tired, so we need to close the door. So I will go to my bed and read this. And I read about aircraft. It's soon 7 p.m. So I'm kind of finished for today. So I'll just go to my bed and relax and reading.
Wallis and Futuna. Wallis and Futuna, officially the territory of the Wallis and Futuna Islands, /WLS, Futuna / is a French island collectivity in the South Pacific, situated between Tuvalu to the northwest, Fiji to the southwest, Tonga to the southeast, Samoa to the east, and Tokelau to the northeast. Matautu is its capital and largest city. The territory's land area is 142.42 kilometers, 54.99 square mi. It had a population of 11,151 at the July 2023 census, down from 14,944 at the 2003 census. The territory is made up of 3 main volcanic tropical islands and a number of tiny islets. It is divided into 2 island groups that lie about 260 kilometers, 160 mi, apart: the Wallis Islands, also known as Uvia, in the northeast, and the Hun Islands, also known as the Futuna Islands, in the southwest, including Futuna Island proper and the mostly uninhabited Alofi Island. Since the 28th of March, 2003, Wallis and Futuna has been a French overseas collectivity, Collectivité d'Outre-mer, or COM. Between 1961 and 2003, it had the status of a French overseas territory, Territoire d'Outre-mer, or TOM. Its official name did not change with the change in its status. History, edit. You can help expand this section with text translated from the corresponding article in French. May 2021. Click Show for important translation instructions. Drawing of Wallis Island by Captain Samuel Wallis in 1767. Coastal view of Wallis Island by Captain James Cook in 1773. Ruins of the Talietu Fort. Early humans, edit. The earliest signs of human habitation on these islands are artifacts characteristic of the Lapita culture, dating roughly to between 850 and 800 BCE. The islands served as natural stopover points for boat traffic, mostly between Fiji and Samoa. During Tongan invasions in the 15th and 16th centuries, the islands defended themselves with varying levels of resistance, but also accepted varying degrees of assimilation. Futuna retained more of its pre-Tongan cultural features, while Wallis underwent greater fundamental changes in its society, language, and culture. The original inhabitants built forts and other identifiable structures on the islands, many of which are in ruins, some of which are still partially intact. Oral history and archaeological evidence suggests that the Tongan invaders reoccupied and modified some of these structures. The oral history also preserves a cultural memory of relationships between Samoa and Futuna that are so long-standing, they are described in the islanders' origin stories. European settlements, edit. Futuna was first put on European maps by Willem Schouten and Jacob Lemaire, during their circumnavigation of the globe, in 1616. They named the islands of Futuna Hoenzilanden, after the Dutch town of Hoen where they hailed from. This was later translated into French, as Isles de Horn. The Wallis Islands are named after the British explorer Samuel Wallis, who sailed past them in 1767, after being the first European to visit Tahiti. The French were the first Europeans to settle in the territory, with the arrival of French missionaries in 1837, who converted the population to Roman Catholicism. Pierre Chanel, canonized in 1954, is a major patron saint of the island of Futuna and of the region. On the 5th of April, 1842, the missionaries asked for the protection of France, after the uprising of part of the local population. On the 5th of April, 1887, the Queen of Uvia, of the traditional chiefdom of Wallis, signed a treaty, officially establishing a French protectorate. The kings of Sigave and Aelo, on the islands of Futuna and Alofi, also signed a treaty establishing a French protectorate, on the 16th of February, 1888. From that moment, the islands were officially under the authority of the French colony of New Caledonia. In 1917, the three traditional kingdoms of Uvia, Sigave, and Aelo were annexed by France, integrated into the colony of Wallis and Futuna, and remained under the authority of the colony of New Caledonia. World War II, edit. Main article, Wallis and Futuna during the Second World War. During World War II, the island's administration was briefly pro-Vichy, until a Free French corvette from New Caledonia deposed the regime, on the 26th of May, 1942. Units of the U.S. Marine Corps later landed on Wallis, on the 29th of May, 1942. Overseas Territory, edit. In 1959, the inhabitants of the islands voted to become a separate French overseas territory, effective since the 29th of July 1961, thus ending their subordination to New Caledonia. In 2005, the 50th King of Uvia, Tomasi Kulimo Etoktu, faced being deposed after giving sanctuary to his grandson who was convicted of manslaughter. The king claimed his grandson should be judged by tribal law rather than by the French penal system. As a result, there were riots in the streets involving the king's supporters, who were victorious over attempts to replace the king. 2 years later, Tomasi Kulimo Etok died on the 7th of May 2007. The state was in a 6-month period of mourning, during which mentioning a successor was forbidden. On the 25th of July, 2008, Kapilil Faupala was installed as king despite protests from some of the royal clans. He was deposed in 2014. A new king, Patalayan Kanimoa, was eventually installed in Uvia in 2016. Lino Lilavai in Aelo on Futuna succeeded after Filippo Cato had abdicated, and Euphanaio Tekela succeeded Polikalpo Kolavai in Sigave. The French president at the time, François Hollande, attended the installation ceremony. Governance and Law, edit. Main article, Politics of Wallis and Futuna. The territory is divided into 3 traditional kingdoms, Royanes Coutumiers Uvia, on the island of Wallis, Sigave, on the western part of the island of Futuna, and Aelo, on the eastern part of the island of Futuna and on the uninhabited island of Alofi. Only Uvia is further subdivided, into 3 districts. Kingdom. District capital area. Kilometer. Population. 2003 census population. 2018 census population. 2023 census 2003-2018. Evolution villages. Wallis Island. Uvia, Wallis, Matayuchu 77.5 10,000 and 71 8,333 8,088 17.3% 21. Hiefo, West, Vatupu 23.4 2,422 1,942 1,855 19.8% 5. Harhake, East, Matayuchu 27.8 3,953 415 3,343 13.5% 6. Niue, First, Malaifo OU 26.3 3,699 2,976 2,890 19.5% 10. Futuna. Sigave, Singave, Leva 16.75 1,880 1,275 1,188 32.2% 6. ALO Malai 47.5 2,993 1,950 1,875 34.8% 9. Total Futuna Leva 64.25 4,873 3,225 3,063 33.8% 15. Overall total Matayuchu 142.42 14,944 11,558 11,151 22.7% 36. 1 carat refers to villages with municipal status. 2 carat formerly called Mwu. 3 carat Alofi is virtually uninhabited. Administratively it falls under ALO. The capital of the collectivity is Matayuchu on the island of Uvia, the most populous of the Wallis Islands. As an overseas collectivity of France, it is governed under the French Constitution of the 28th of September, 1958, and has universal suffrage for those over 18 years of age. The French president is elected by popular vote for a 5-year term. The High Administrator is appointed by the French President on the advice of the French Ministry of the Interior. The Presidents of the Territorial Government and the Territorial Assembly are elected by the members of the Assembly. The most recent election was held on the 20th of March, 2022. As of 2023, the head of state is President Emmanuel Macron of France, as represented by Administrator Superior Hervé Jonathan. The President of the Territorial Assembly has been Munipoise Mulakeka since March 2022. The Council of the Territory consists of 3 kings, monarchs of the 3 pre-colonial kingdoms, and 3 members appointed by the High Administrator on the advice of the Territorial Assembly. The legislative branch consists of the unicameral 20-member Territorial Assembly or Assembly Territoriale. Its members are elected by popular vote, and serve 5-year terms. Wallis and Futuna elects 1 senator to the French Senate and 1 deputy to the French National Assembly. Criminal justice is generally governed by French law and administered by a tribunal of first resort in Matayuchu. Appeals from that tribunal are decided by the Court of Appeal in Noumea, New Caledonia. However, in non-criminal cases, civil law disputes, the 3 traditional kingdoms administer justice according to customary law. The territory participates in the Franc Zone, and is both a permanent member of the Secretariat of the Pacific Community and an observer at the Pacific Islands Forum. Geography and Climate, edit. Aerial view of Wallis Island, Uvia. Wallis and Futuna is located about 2/3 of the way from Hawaii to New Zealand. It is 13 degree 18 S 176 degree 12 W, 360 kilometers, 220 mi, west of Samoa and 480 kilometers, 300 mi, northeast of Fiji. The territory includes the island of Uvia, also called Wallis, which is the most populous, the island of Futuna, the virtually uninhabited island of Alofi, and 20 uninhabited islets. The total area of the territory is 274 kilometers, 106 square mi, with 129 kilometers, 80 mi, of coastline. The highest point in the territory is Maun Puke, on the island of Futuna, at 524 m, 1,719 feet. The islands have a hot, rainy season from November to April, when tropical cyclones passing over them cause storms. Then they have a cool, dry season from May to October, caused by the southeast trade winds that predominate during those months. The average annual rainfall is between 2,500 and 3,000 millimeters, 98,118 in, and rain is likely on at least 260 days per year. The average humidity is 80%. The average annual temperature is 26.6 degrees Celsius, 79.9 degrees Fahrenheit, rarely falling below 24.0 degrees Celsius, 75.2 degrees Fahrenheit. During the rainy season, it ranges between 28.0 degrees Celsius, 82.4 degrees Fahrenheit, and 32.0 degrees Celsius, 89.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Only 5% of the island's land area consists of arable land. Permanent crops cover another 20%. Deforestation is a serious problem. Only small portions of the original forests remain, largely because the inhabitants use wood as their main fuel source, and, as a result, the mountainous terrain of Futuna is particularly susceptible to erosion. The island of Alofi lacks natural freshwater resources, so it has no permanent settlements. Volcanic activity during the mid-Pleistocene created numerous volcanic crater lakes on Uvia, Wallis Island. The names of some of them are Lalalalo, Lano, Lanutavak, Lanuchilai, Lanumaha, Kaikola, and Alafivai. Wallis and Futuna is part of the Fiji tropical moist forests terrestrial ecoregion. Climate data for Matayuchu, Kopanaf. Climate data for Hiefo District, Kopanaf. Islands, edit. Island capital other villages area, kilometer, population. Wallis and Futuna Matayuchu Leva, Vaitupu, Alil, Laiku, Falalu, Uchufwa 142.4 to 11,558. Hun Islands, Futuna and Alofi Islands, Levafiwa, Nuku, Do, Malai, Ono, Vol 64.13,225. Alofi 17.80. Futuna Levatolok, Fiwa, Vasia, Nuku, Do, Malai, Kolapelu, Ono, Kolia, Vol, Kolatai, Lala, Poi, Tamana, Tuatafa, Tavai 46.33,225. Fio 0.680. Finurfo OU 0.030. Fugalei 0.180. Illet Saint Christophe Chapel Saint Christophe 0.030. Oluaniva 0.180. Nucleata 0.740. Nucufo2 0.040. Nucuhafala 0.0674. Nucuhian 0.020. Nuculo 0.3510. Nucutapu 0.050. Nucleator 0.10. Other nucleator 0.0430. Wallis Islands Mata Uchuvetupu, Alil, Laiku, Falalu, Uchufwa, Malai Fou, Malai 75.98333. Wallis Island, Mata Uchuvetupu, Alil, Laiku, Falalu, Uchufwa, Malai Fou, Malai 75.88333. Tekavaki 0.010. Other 00. Wallis and Futuna Mata Uchaliva, Vatupu, Alil, Laiku, Falalu, Uchufwa 142.42 11,558. Flora and Fauna, edit. See also, List of mammals of the Wallis and Futuna Islands. Economy, edit. Main article, Economy of Wallis and Futuna. The GDP of Wallis and Futuna in 2005 was $188 million, at market exchange rates. The territory's economy consists mostly of traditional subsistence agriculture, with about 80% of the labor force earning its livelihood from agriculture, coconuts and vegetables, livestock, mostly pigs, and fishing. About 4% of the population is employed in government. Additional revenue comes from French government subsidies, licensing of fishing rights to Japan and South Korea, import taxes, and remittances from expatriate workers in New Caledonia, French Polynesia, and France. Industries include copra, handicrafts, fishing, and lumber. Agricultural products include coconuts, breadfruit, yams, taro, bananas, pigs, and fish. Exports include copra, chemicals, and fish. There is a single bank in the territory, Banque de Wallis at Futuna, established in 1991. It is a subsidiary of BNP Paribas. There had previously been a branch of Banque Indosuez at Mata Uchu. It had opened in 1977, but was closed in 1989, leaving the territory without any bank for 2 years. Demographics, edit. Population, edit. Main article, Demographics of Wallis and Futuna. The total population of the territory at the July 2023 census was 11,151, 72.5% on the island of Wallis, 27.5% on the island of Futuna, down from 14,944 at the July 2003 census. The vast majority of the population are of Polynesian ethnicity, with a small minority who were born in metropolitan France or are of French descent. Lack of economic opportunities has, since the 1950s, been impelling many young Wallisians and Futunians to migrate to the more prosperous French territory of New Caledonia, where, as French citizens, they are legally entitled to settle and work. Since the mid-2000s, emigration has surged in response to political tensions on the main island of Wallis, Uvia, that have arisen from a feud between rival aristocratic clans, who are supporting competing kings. Emigrants have begun settling, not only in New Caledonia, but also much farther away, in metropolitan France. At the 2019 New Caledonian census, 22,520 residents of New Caledonia, whether born in New Caledonia or in Wallis and Futuna, reported their ethnicity as Wallisian and Futunian. This is almost double the total population of Wallis and Futuna. Historical population, edit. 1969, 1976, 1983, 1990, 1996, 2003, 2008, 2013, 2018, 2023. 8,546, 9,192, 12,408, 13,705, 14,166, 14,944, 13,484, 12,197, 11,558, 11,151. Official figures from past censuses. Languages, edit. Further information, Wallisian language and Futunan language. According to the 2018 census, among people 14Y/O and older, 59.1% reported Wallisian as the language they speak the most at home, down from 60.2% in 2008. 27.9% reported Futunan, down from 29.9% in 2008, and 12.7% reported French, up from 9.7% in 2008. On Wallis Island, the languages most spoken at home were Wallisian, 82.2%, down from 86.1% in 2008, French, 15.6%, up from 12.1% in 2008, and Futunan, 1.9%, up from 1.5% in 2008. On Futuna, the languages most spoken at home were Futunan, 94.5%, down from 94.9% in 2008, French, 5.3%, up from 4.2% in 2008, and Wallisian, 0.2%, down from 0.8% in 2008. At the 2018 census, 90.5% of people 14Y/O and older could speak, read and write either Wallisian or Futunan, up from 88.5% at the 2008 census, and 7.2% had no knowledge of either Wallisian or Futunan, same percentage as at the 2008 census. Among those 14Y/O and older, 84.2% could speak, read and write French in 2018, up from 78.2% at the 2008 census, and 11.8% reported that they had no knowledge of French, down from 17.3% at the 2008 census. On Wallis Island, 85.1% of people age 14 or older could speak, read and write French, up from 81.1% at the 2008 census, and 10.9% reported that they had no knowledge of French, down from 14.3% at the 2008 census. On Futuna, 81.9% of people age 14 or older could speak, read and write French, up from 71.6% at the 2008 census, and 14.0% had no knowledge of French, down from 24.3% at the 2008 census. Religion, edit. The overwhelming majority, 99%, of the people in Wallis and Futuna are Catholics, with the island having been evangelized in the 19th century by Fr. Peter Chanel, S.O. They are served by their own diocese of Wallis and Futuna, with a see at Matayuchu, a suffragan diocese of the Metropolitan Archdiocese of Noumea, New Caledonia. Culture, edit. Main article, Culture of Wallis and Futuna. The culture of Wallis and Futuna is Polynesian, and is similar to the cultures of its neighboring nations Samoa and Tonga. The Wallisian and Futunan cultures are very similar to each other in language, dance, cuisine and modes of celebration. Fishing and agriculture are the traditional occupations, and most people live in traditional oval, thatch fowl houses. Kava is a popular beverage brewed in the two islands, as in much else of Polynesia. It also serves as a traditional offering in rituals. Highly detailed tapa cloth art is a specialty of Wallis and Futuna. Uvia Museum Association is a private museum that holds a collection of objects that record the history of the Second World War in the territory. It is located in Matayucha Shopping Center and in 2009 was opened by appointment. Transport and Communications, edit. In 2018, the territory had 3,132 telephone